asked you the question, what's the one technique we can use for the law of attraction? You mentioned that not a lot of people understand all the science behind the law of attraction. So I thought it would be good for us to address that. What's the
Okay.
science behind the law of attraction?
Physics.
Okay. And quantum physics.
Quantum physics more so, but physics.
Okay.
All the laws of physics apply to the law of attraction. Because the laws of physics apply to anything that is energy and matter. And thought is a form of energy, which is something that people know but disregard in the sense that they don't use that information.
Can you explain them? Why, if somebody says, how can a thought be energy? Please, maybe.
Well, okay, so energy. So this is one thing that everyone learns at school is that energy changes form, matter does not go away. Energy is what becomes matter, right? And matter becomes energy. But it never goes away. So there's two forms that this takes. The solid form we all know, things that you can feel, touch, and observe, those are matter. And energy is stuff that you can't see unless it becomes manifest in some way. So sound are waves. Somebody has to receive them in order for them to become manifest in the form of sound. Light waves, you can't see them until they are captured by an interpreter, which is our retina. That's how they manifest, right?
Okay.
Thoughts, so listen carefully, this is really important. Thoughts become things. Thoughts are similar to light and sound and heat in the sense that you cannot see it in the beginning, but it turns into a thing when there is a perceiver there, a receiver, right?
Yes.
Light becomes a picture when there is a receiver. Otherwise, there's light everywhere, but if there's no receiver, then there's no picture. Right?
Right.
Radio transmits an invisible frequency that does not manifest until it gets to the receiver in your radio. Television transmits energy that does not become manifest in the form of a visual program that you can see until it gets to the receiver, the antenna.
True.
Thoughts do not become things until there is a receiver. Now, the difference here is that we are the creator and we are also the receiver.
Good
okay?
point.
And so, as creators, we define our preferences. I like red better than I like black. I like purple better than I like gold. I don't know, whatever. I like this topping on my pizza versus this topping on my pizza. All of those are desires. And soon as you say, I like it or I don't like it, you've given birth to a belief. See, the thing is, there's a lot of talk about beliefs and law of attraction, but what people don't realize is you think something, that's a belief. Belief is just a thought, as Abraham says. A belief is just a thought. But people think beliefs are something big, like I believe in God, or I believe in country, or I believe in, faithfulness, whatever. They think of those things as beliefs, but just a normal, regular thought about liking anchovies or disliking anchovies is a belief. So when you look at it from that point of view, how do you receive? A receiver, so we said we are the creator, so we create by giving birth to our preferences. In order to receive, we have to have no blockages in the transmission. Imagine that if a television, this happens with cell phones. I'll use the example of cell phones. So with cell phones, sometimes if you are in a basement or you're in a building that has a lot of concrete, you don't have cell phone reception.
Yeah.
So now there was this invisible ray of energy that was being transmitted towards you, but there was a blockage in between. So the receiver was there, but the receiver did not receive.
Good idea. Good analogy.
And this is what happens when we create, but we have a belief that becomes like that concrete wall in between. So here we are wanting to receive, but unless we deal with this concrete in the middle, even though the transmission is taking place, we are not receiving it.
Right.
So this is what, when we say ask and it is given, source is always responding. Well, because soon as you give birth to a preference, source is responding. It is given. It is transmitting towards you. But now what's happening is, if you can visualize this concrete wall in the middle, this thing that you are calling towards you, the preference is hitting this wall, and you're also hitting this wall because you really want it, so you're pulling it. So that's how people actually feel. You know how people say, I feel broken, I feel hurt, that's what's happening. They are actually feeling hurt. They are actually feeling drained, because just imagine hitting against a wall every day of your life.
You hear that, particularly with people who have anxiety or depression. They are like, I'm dragging myself through molasses. Right?
Absolutely. And that actually hooks up with our last episode that we were just talking about, is that you are calling all of this energy. You need to really get off your thoughts, because it's being on your thoughts that is creating this pull, and right? So what happens is, if you stop thinking your thoughts about your own life and you start thinking about nature and all the other stuff that we talked about in the previous episode, well, now you're not doing this.
You're not fighting with the two pulls of energy, the attracting and taking away.
That's right. The thing that happens, and this now connects into bringing it back into the science of it, is quantum physics that says that when you don't focus on something, it goes away. See, this is the famous experiment with the cat being dead and alive at the same time. It depends on who's looking. The cat can be dead or alive at the same time. All possibilities exist simultaneously, right? But it's the perceiver who sees the cat as dead or alive. Which possibility are you focusing on?
Right.
So all of law of attraction can be explained with science, with physics. I'll give you another example that I use a lot in my talks that makes it easy for people to understand what is happening, and it relates to science. So Newton says, if I want to move, Newton, the scientist,
Isaac Newton.
Yes, if people don't know, says that if you push something that is stationary, you are imparting your energy to the stationary item, and it absorbs your energy, therefore it moves forward. Okay? So objects are stationary and are inertia, until energy is imparted to them.
Yes, it's true.
Okay? So when we think about something, whatever it is, let's take this pen because it's handy. If I think about this thing, I have given my energy to it. It's not physical energy, it's mental energy. I've given it my mental energy, and therefore, on a timeline, I have pushed it into my future. And this is how we are deliberate creators. Whatever we put our energy onto today is what we are pushing into the future. So if you think about the lack of money in your life, it's not money you're pushing into the future, it's lack. on the subject of money that you're pushing into the future. And if you think of money from the point of view of having it, then it's the having of it that you're pushing into the future.
Right. Right.
Okay?
If
So,
people want to read more about the science, I think your Thrive book actually covers quite a
yes,
bit of
yes,
that.
that's
So I
right.
will definitely link to that in the show notes as well. I found it fascinating when you really just boil it down, and it's just simple to understand.
It makes it simple to understand. And yes, spiritual. I think law of attraction, the way I look at it, is law of attraction is the bridge between science and spirituality.
Right.
Right?
When did it come into being? How long? I mean, it's been time immemorial, and there's been some big teachers in the past that have passed away. That, like, in our current kind of paradigm, when did it start to get big again?
I think that the Secret movie has a lot to do with it because there were a lot of teachers who were teaching it. Abraham Hicks was one of the teachers in The Secret who were teaching it, but Abraham Hicks is the source of starting to call it the law of attraction.
Okay.
Because it was called inspiration. Wayne Dyer called it inspiration, right? It was called motivation. Norman Vincent Peale talked about appreciation. There have been so many teachers who have talked about it in different ways, and all of them, Napoleon Hill, all the way back, right?
Even Earl Nightingale, I think.
That's right. The Strangest Secret, yes. So many of them. And all of them have basically been talking about the same thing. It's just that now we have a term that signifies all of that. But having said that, I find that there's a lot of confusion because things that are not part of law of attraction are being talked about by people who don't really understand it, and they're putting the label of law of attraction on them. And I think that they do a disservice to people who want to improve their lives. So there's a lot of stuff out there that is ritualistic, which is not part of law of attraction. And I see people advertising hypnosis as law of attraction. Well, it's not. Tarot cards and astrology and all of those kinds of things are not law of attraction.
Good point.
Right? So,
law of attraction is science of vibrational energy.
And as we have discussed in this episode, there is an actual science behind it.
Right.
Right? All of these other things are not law of attraction because they take your power away and give it to something that is outside of you. Law of attraction gives your power to you. You control it, not the ritual, not the hypnotic master, not anything outside of you. If you give your control to anything outside of you, that's not law of attraction. That is the litmus test that will tell you whether or not the tool that you're looking at or the teacher that you're listening to, whether or not they really are teaching law of attraction.
I love it. Definitely, that's the hot button right there.
Mm-hmm.
That it's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's outside, if there's anything that you're trying to focus on outside of you, that's not it.
It's not law of attraction.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. I think we'll end that episode here today.
Perfect.